Do you know, whether it's the Masters, whether it's the fact that the sunshine comes out, whatever it is that inspires you to get your clubs back out and start playing a little bit more golf, I'm all ears to hear down there in the comments. What is it that gets you going before the season actually kicks off? For me, it's full swing again.
The PGA Tour today announced a controversial deal with the headline-grabbing Live Golf.
Oh, wait, what happened?
I was inspired by last season's Full Swing, and I'm inspired by the 3 episodes that I've seen of this season's Full Swing. So much so that what I thought I'd do today is give you a little bit of an insight into what is actually going on in my golf bag. Remember, I used to be sponsored by Titleist, no longer sponsored by Titleist anymore, so therefore I have free reign to put in whatever I want into my golf bag. I've had a few vlogs now that have gone out, people asking what am I actually using. So let's take a closer look at what is actually in my golf bag right now. Starting off with the trusty, you've seen it all before, but it's the Made RBZ Stage 1 clean white top with this particular 5-wood. Now, I've got a random shaft that's in it, not random as in the fact that it never came with this particular head, but it's an Ozix, Matrix Ozix X Flex. I don't normally use X, but I seem to get on well with this one. It's the TP version, it's in 70 grams. It's got 19 degrees of loft. It's pretty well worn now, but it absolutely performs for me, as you can see from a couple of these clips.
Absolutely pure. Oh, doing its thing. Just popped it on autopilot.
Right in on the pinball, that could be it. It's a bit toey. Zoom in.
Oh.
And one thing you must know is that when I was sponsored by Titleist, certainly last year, they pushed me into a 14 club contract, which meant that I had to get this one replaced. Now that was easier said than done because there's not much out there on the market that can actually perform the way this one particularly performs, and ultimately it comes down to confidence. It's putting it down by the ball and getting it to work for you. And as you saw from those couple of clips, this one works nicely for me. Now what I did is I put in a TSI 1 5-wood. Yes, last year's model, not the TSR, the TSI. It was just a club that I kind of love the look of, and from a footbridge point of view, it actually pretty much looked similar to what I've got right here, even though it was in black. Now Titleist wouldn't get it to the spec that I wanted to perform the same as this, so I had to send it off to another friend within the trade to actually build it, as in push the weight forward in that 5-wood to perform very similar to this. And to be fair, we managed to do quite well. It actually performed in a very similar light, not just from the numbers point of view, but when I was out on the golf course. So when it comes to the 5-wood, I think this is a club that a lot of you should try, because ultimately it's one of those clubs that gives you the spin, it gives you the control, and it gets the ball up in the air quite nicely and can replace those longer irons that we all tend to struggle with. Next up, something slightly newer in the bag, and that is my 3-wood under the Sunday Show pom-pom head cover. The TaylorMade QI10 fairway, not adjustable, and is at 15 degrees of loft. The actual shaft that I've got in it is a Ventus TR Blue 60 gram S Flex. And I have to say, from a feel point of view, as soon as I hit this club, it felt actually very similar to what I had in my 5-wood. The great thing about this club, and something that I have struggled with over the years with fairway woods and certainly 3-woods, is getting the ball up in the air. But as soon as I tested this club, it just went straight up in the air, and I fell in love with it straight away. And that is ultimately what it comes down to. Find a club that you really like the look of, find a club that really performs nicely for you, get the confidence with it, and off you go. It's got a standard TaylorMade grip in there. All my clubs come with 1 degree extra layer of tape underneath a standard grip. But that's what I'm going with for this year's fairway wood, and I can't see it coming out the bag, if I'm honest. Should we take a little look at my wedges? And some of you will know that Vokey's been in my bag for a number of years, and they have stayed in the bag. However, I have dropped down to a 46 degree pitching wedge in the Vokey, but this is an SM7. The reason I've gone into the SM7 is because I just didn't have any other wedges to go in the bag other than that particular model, so I've gone for the SM7. I've also matched that in with the SM7 in the 50 degree. Then I go to a 56 degree, and this is the SM10. This one just gives me a little bit more spin. It's got a full bounce on the bottom there, which is a 14 bounce with an F grind. And then I've gone for an RTX Tour-Rack lob wedge, which is the full face version. And the reason I've gone for this is because I'm tend to somebody who, as you can see here, I've hit a few bunker shots. I slide it up kind of into the toe area. I just wanted a few extra grooves in that toe area to give me that extra spin that I'm looking for. And my first impressions with this particular wedge is honestly just how much spin I get from this wedge. You can see that one there, which I caught just a little bit clean, is actually not a bad thing sometimes because you can get it to ride up the club face. But for this particular wedge, I just couldn't believe when I tested it just how much spin I was getting from it, which for a lot of people isn't always, let's say, a good thing, because actually some people like to see the ball kind of release out. Well, I kind of feel like because I've got that nice balance between the 56 and now the 60, I can get that release with the 56 when I want that shot. But with the 60, for me, I look at it as kind of like your get out of jail free card. Then we've got my irons, and I'm sorry to say it, but I have run back to my Titleist 620 MBs. Now, the reason why I've run back to these irons is, and I've said this before in a number of videos, is that whenever I kind of go into a game improvement iron, I tend to lose sometimes a little bit of spin. Certainly when I get out onto the golf course in wet conditions, and then when I'm out of the semi-rough or even rough areas, I tend to get these flyers that pop out, and I'd rather see a ball drop short than go long. When you get a flyer, you tend to go over the back of the green or certainly end up short-siding yourself, because I always think the golf courses generally run out past the green. So I have gone back to the MBs, and not because I want the ego of actually having a set of blades in the bag, but I just want control. I want something that's going to give me maximum amount of spin, and if I don't hit it well, then ultimately it's my fault and I need to be able to deal with it from a practice point of view. So I've gone from 9 iron, because I've got the Vokey wedge in the set, through to 5 iron. I never actually got the 4 iron in this particular set because the gap just got really close to my 5 iron, so I didn't see a point in that. And I've actually put in the bag the T100 4 iron. Now this isn't even this year's T100, this is the T100 from, let's say, 2 generations ago when I got fitted into these irons. I put the T100 in the bag. They refined the sole of it, getting it closer to the MB than what they had in, let's say, the previous model to this. And it just gives me the best performance and certainly spreads me away from my 5 iron just a little bit better. The other thing is that ultimately, when you've had clubs in the bag that have worked for you previously, again, just like my 5 wood, it gives me the confidence to be able to draw on some of the shots that I've hit previously with them. So when I step up with that 5 iron from 190 yards, I can draw on a shot that I've hit previously and be able to execute it with a little bit of confidence. Now, from a shaft point of view, Project X 6.0. Now, I've used Project X for years. I moved into a Modus shaft, and I got to say, I did enjoy that Modus shaft, and I'm not against going back into a Modus shaft at some point, but this is what I'm going to be using certainly in the near future. I have been to PXG and done some testing there. My idea of that type of video was to try and share with you my experience of going through a PXG fitting. What I don't want to do is end up using all the clubs that I go and test. So where I was going to go and test out lots of these different fitting centers, I'm probably going to bench that because I know that the PXG video did upset a number of you. But that's the reason why I've run back to these particular irons. 2 degrees flat is what I am in my spec, standard length, and as I said, the grip wise, standard with 1 extra layer of tape. Now let's have a little look now at the trusty putter. Now a lot of you will know that putting for me is something I really, really enjoy. For lots of people out there, it's something they don't necessarily enjoy. And I have held my fair share of putts over the years, certainly on YouTube, which has upset a few of the guests that we've had on the channel.
It's about as good as it gets, Daniel.
There we go, easy up and down.
Never in doubt.
What stat that's going to be.
All fours, chaps, all fours.
Nothing's changed over the winter, the putter still works.
But the putter of choice for me, has been for a number of years now, is the Scotty Cameron Newport 2, and this one is the current model. However, refined slightly. I've got the Scott Redmond head cover on it. This one was what actually Scott made for me, which is a beautiful head cover. I haven't had it on the bag for a while, but it's nice to put it back in play. This one has been customed, shall we say. You can see here that this one is actually black. Now, I was hoping that this year Scotty Cameron would have released this new model in black. They didn't, they put it in the silver, and I was able to get it customed up, and I'll pop the little link down below of the person that actually did it for me. Gareth, member of Pennard in South Wales, did a fantastic job of it. He put my logo in the toe of the putter. He made it all gold in the writing on the front, And then when you turn it over, I've gone for a white sight line, which actually blends in really nicely with that black finish. And then we've got the colours of the channel, the purple, the gold, and the purple in the back there. And I did it as a bit of an experiment, if I'm honest. I really loved the old putter that I had, which again was the Newport 2, but again, 2021 version. And I love the style of that putter. Now, for some of you that do struggle with your putting, I was the same. I was somebody that did struggle massively. I had the yips. I moved to a cross-handed putting action with a standard grip, 34-inch in length, and it really, really helped me. However, I did bounce between putters, and I gave up on that and said, look, you need to find a putter you like the look of. Once you've found something you like the look of, like the feel of, like the weight of, then stick with it, because we can all bounce from putter to putter, blaming the putter, but ultimately it's the person using it. And for me, the Newport 2 was the best looking putter that I found back in probably 2017 or 2018 was when I made the change to this particular style, and I haven't looked back. I absolutely love this putter, and I can assure you that it's going to take an awful lot to get this one out the bag. So this one will not be changing, certainly for this year anyway, for sure. And then last, but no means least, the driver. The PXG Black Ops in a 9-degree head with a Ventus 60-gram stiff shaft. Now, this is as close to the 10K mark as you're going to get, and when I hit this Black Ops driver, I was actually quite impressed with it when I was hitting it there in the studio, and I will pop a little link to that video that you can go and have a little look at for yourself. But from a visuals point of view, I absolutely loved it. Got that little bit of white sort of lipstick area around the back of it. It's got a nice rail on the front, enabling us to be able to line that ball up really quite nicely. And the feel off the club face is fantastic. And when I went out onto the golf course, it was kind of a bit of a point and shoot club really. Aiming at my target, hitting the type of shots that I want to hit with it, subtle draws and fades, nothing major with this particular drive, which I really, really liked. Getting just enough spin to be able to get control on the golf course with it, but ultimately it's given me the confidence straight away to put it in the bag and get it out there playing. So that's the driver that's gone into the bag, and there's just a couple of other things that I want to share with you as well that I use personally. Rangefinders and watches. Well, I've got the V5 by ShotScope on my wrist right now. I also use the X5 when I'm out on the golf course. All of my clubs have got the tags in the bottom of them, enabled me to be able to track exactly how I'm getting on the golf course. And then from a rangefinder point of view, I'm using the ShotScope Pro ZR. Now, I am sponsored by ShotScope for the Break Pass series, which means that I only really need to use this stuff when I'm using it for that particular series. However, I do like to use it all the time. When you find something you like the look of and feel of, I think it's always good to stick with it. But what I like about this particular rangefinder is it's a little bit weightier than, let's say, previous models. It's got the slope on there, so you can turn it off or switch it on depending on your situation and where you're playing. And you've also got that magnet on the side, which is perfect for when you're in the buggy. You can just plonk it on there and off you go. And lastly, the golf ball. I'm currently testing the Srixon Z-Star XV. Now this is as close to the Pro V1X as I can find from a feel point of view and a spin point of view. I've always used the Pro V1X. However, getting access to Pro V1X is a little bit more difficult, so therefore I've had to look elsewhere, and I have found the Srixon XV, which is giving me, like I said, the performance that I was certainly seeing. And when it comes to a golf ball, I think it's really important to find something you like the feel of, find something that's going to perform nicely for you, and then stick with it. I see so many people diving in their golf bag, dragging out golf balls that actually do something really differently, certainly when you get your wedges in your hand. So get a golf ball you like the feel of, get it performing for you. If you need to go and get fitted for that, make sure you do, and then stick with the ball that you choose. So there it is. There is my golf bag moving into the beginning of the 2024 season. I'm not saying that things won't change in this golf bag, but I'm absolutely confident in each area that I've got now to be able to go in and compete out on the golf course. But I'd like to hear down in the comments, are there any of the clubs in this bag that you're using? But also, what are your goals for the 2024 season? If you are new to the channel and you like what you're seeing from this video, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next video.